Hello, today we ask Reddit what is something that disappeared after the pandemic. People did a lot of things during the pandemic, so let me know what hobbies or things you did in the comment section below. With that out of the way, sit back and enjoy. Reasonably priced used cars. Reasonably priced anything. And somewhat obtainable housing prices too. My friend group. Haha, I left all social media except LinkedIn, no WhatsApp, no Insta, no Facebook, now I chat with strangers on Reddit. To be honest, I went through graduation and all that stuff a year of school beforehand when COVID and quarantine hit. I drifted out of with a lot of my friends and ended up pretty lonely. Only made me realize I was just a last choice pick or backup to a lot of the people I knew. COVID helped me realize I was just an accessory to a lot of people. Although things are difficult now, I now have a silver lining of having met much better and kinder people through the internet, and feel I can be much more honest, open and trusting with them. It's a process. But I hope for both of us when this all blows over and the world is at peace again, that we come out the other side with healthy support systems, and people we can really count on. To you and all the others that have been tanked by loneliness from COVID, good luck. McDonald's all-day breakfast and salads. Ex-employee from McDonald's. They were planning on stopping all-day breakfast for a long time, they just used the pandemic for an excuse. There were two main reasons I was told for this. 1. They were wasting a lot of food because not a lot people ordered breakfast at night. 2. Most people ate breakfast inside, and with the pandemic, that decreased the target audience of McDonald's. My McDonald's still does breakfast all day but just limited the menu. I hate it. I want a McGriddle at midnight. Most stores not doing 24 hours anymore. So many gyms closed. The hours at fast food places change depending if they have staff now. I would have been so bummed if I still worked nights and couldn't get my grocery shopping done at 3 a.m. after work. I'm on that night shift life, definitely missing those 3 a.m. shopping trips with not having to deal with people. Definitely feel this hard. Even before the pandemic, most 24-hour stores were moving to 10 p.m. close because it's not profitable. The moment COVID hit, it was like the sidewalks rolled up at 6 p.m. Most everything closed super early. Made it quite the hassle to juggle the schedule in order to actually get groceries. Couldn't do it between 7 to 9 a.m. on account of dedicated time slots for elderly and most essential workers, grocery workers exempt from that slot. I used to work second shift, get out at midnight and hit Walmart on the way home for groceries. I lived 40 minutes from work, and most civilization, in a small town with shitty small town pricing. After the pandemic, I left home early a few times, did my grocery shopping on the way to work, and packed my fridge and freezer stuff into bags and labeled them as my lunch so I could keep them in the work fridge all day. I feel like a lot of businesses used the pandemic as a catalyst to deal with some of the changes that would be hard to sell to their customers. There's a ton of restaurants in my city that are still takeout, delivery only, despite having huge dine-in areas. All the tables are just loaded up with stacks of drinks and boxes of to-go containers and stuff. A couple of locally owned restaurants I enjoyed in my town didn't survive COVID. Rip the one Indian food place within 100 miles. Probably the worst part for me too. Great places gone, yet the shitty ones still here. Every town has one or two places that everybody low-key suspected might be a money laundering front even back in 2019 because the food and service sucked and it was never even busy, and somehow those are the ones that made it through no problem. Tin foil hats required for this one. There's a chain of restaurants in Australia called Red Rooster. I think shitty Chick-fil-A is a good analogy. So I've never seen anyone go in or out. The drive-thru has no one in it. The prices are so low it doesn't make sense they aren't packed. But they have a representative for making consistently terrible food. Also, as a chain of restaurants, I know it's not just the ones I've lived near. I've seen them in heaps of suburbs and towns across the state, separated by hundreds of kilometers, and it's always the same story. The running theory between me and literally anyone I've talked to about it is, they're a front for the drug-running biker gangs in Western Australia, my state. It makes sense, there's so much blatant drug trafficking, why wouldn't they launder their cash through an entire chain of restaurants? They would otherwise have to buy up hundreds of little takeaway places. This way they can just pop up a new place whenever their cash flow gets sus. My good excuse for overindulging my introversion. It was our time to shine. To shine quietly in my apartment, alone. Social distancing since 1966. Physical restaurant menus. Dude, we need to bring them back. I love technology, but menus on our phones is not one of them. Not to mention QR code hijacking you have to watch out for. I am inclined to believe one of the reasons they are moving away from physical menus to online is that it makes it easier to change or raise prices. No more having to reprint menus and the public won't notice the price changes usually. Also in Australia, a lot of places, pubs specifically, have used this as an excuse to add automatic tips into the final price, seeing as now you pay on your phone. You can remove it if you see it, but a lot of people don't and it ends up going through. Even though before this, the work staff would have been doing more work to get your drink to you and the service was much better. You'd go up to order and get your drink instantly versus now you have to wait for someone to bring it to you. It's incredibly frustrating as tipping isn't customary here nor necessary. Workers are paid a livable fee so they don't need to rely on tips. Also, we haven't received any actual service yet to warrant giving a tip, and we also don't know where that tip is going, so it could just be going to the establishment itself and not the waitstaff. 24-hour Walmart. Ex-Walmart employee here. They did this because stocking is the most important thing at night. They absolutely hate interruptions. They would teach us how to avoid people to get our jobs done. Walmart saw productivity skyrocket on nights. No longer are the first few hours of night shift slaloming around customers and having to help people with mundane questions because they can't read the aisle contents on the signs. They also don't have to deal with stupid and high people coming in at 2 a.m. asking to buy live fish and shit, which no one can do unless you are trained to do it. Stockers aren't trained to do that. Which means only the one manager at night can do it. I legit had to argue with a guy when I was stocking pets one night, because him and his GF wanted a goldfish at 3 a.m. I had to explain that pets isn't my department, that it's just the aisle I was given for the night. I explained you had to be trained. Guy got all pissed and called me a lazy loser, so I rapped off that I'm not the motherfucker who has nothing better to do than buy a fucking goldfish at 3 a.m. Retail made me hate people. Person who just walked in on Christmas Day. Wow, I'm surprised you are open. Why are you open? Me, we wouldn't be if people like you didn't come out. I've worked all holidays and the amount of times I've heard customers ask that question drives me nuts. Me eating at a restaurant. Pre-pandemic it was easy to get a meal for $10. Now that same meal costs $20 or more with the tip also doubling. The hell if I'm going to waste that amount of money. It's so bad. The local Chinese restaurant near me went from $10 dinner combos to $16. Food across the board went up, so I get it, but holy hell, it needs to slow down. Even fast food is twice as much. Some McDonald's meals are over $10 now. Spatial awareness. I swear when I go to a busy store these days, it's nearly impossible to get around people to look at anything. Or they just stand in the middle of the aisle. Dumb people who block up the aisles and walk super slow right in the middle are 99% of the reason we order groceries to our doorstep now. I don't know how people shop so leisurely. I want out of there ASAP. Older people seem to get worse during the pandemic. I regularly see them stopping in the middle of doorways for supermarkets or not checking behind them before stopping in the middle of a corridor or aisle. About 75% of public transportation. So many services cut on the grounds that nobody was using them, because we were in lockdowns that have not resumed even after most people have been dragged back to their physical workplace. That's weird, it's the opposite where I am. Buses not only restarted, but became a free service through at least the end of 2022. Edit, this is Connecticut, statewide. Oh my god, I'm so infuriated by this. UK based here, in the north. My train commute used to be an hour in, an hour back. COVID reduced services. Fine, not unreasonable, I work from home anyways. Nearly 3 years later and services not returned to pre-COVID state. Now commute is an hour in, 2 hours 15 minutes back. I'm sure someone is making money of this, and robbing me of time in the process. The soldier on, go to work even if you're sick for the good of the business mentality, that a lot of managers actively encouraged. My workplace now sends out health and safety emails reminding people not to come to work if they're sick. Even if they don't have COVID, they should stay home and either rest or work from home if they feel well enough. Then there's jobs that don't have sick pay, so you either show up or don't pay your rent. My outgoingness. I think the lack of interacting face-to-face with people has made me a lot more introverted. Mine had gotten a weird twist to it. I can socialize on a surface level brilliantly now, but I get social anxiety when it goes beyond that. Unless it's someone I've known for decades, that is. The inverse for me. I can't stand small talk anymore. So I often end up giving people whiplash with how I dive into heavier topics. I honestly don't remember if it was like that before too, but people seem more patient and tolerant before lockdowns. It's also the pressure of the current world bearing down on everyone. Kids' social skills. The freshmen coming into my student society for the past 2 summers behave like a bunch of 16-year-olds while they are 18 and 19 years old on average. This is not just me getting older, I'm an eternal student, so I've seen plenty of freshman groups come in over the years, and there's definitely something different about these kids from the past 2 summers. I've heard 2 unrelated teachers from different school districts say that all of the kids were not only held back academically, but also mentally. Imagine trying to teach 3rd grade but all of the students act like 1st graders. It's been challenging at every level of development. Imagine a kid who was in kindergarten in March of 2020. They were having play-based learning when school stopped. They struggled through virtual school, which is not at all how young children learn. Then the first time they're back in the classroom, they're expected to stop playing and sit quietly at their desks. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for sticking around until the end of the video, and make sure to like, subscribe, and comment what you did during the pandemic. Check out the video on screen if you want to continue to watch my content. Until next time.